The Guardians tells the story of how the League of Nations, which was established after the First World War, was set up to legitimize the European empires, but became a pivotal tool for their collapse. The story is shot through with unintended consequences as the great powers were trying to manage their so-called sacred trust of civilization while also looking after their national interests, and got themselves in a terrible tangle trying to reconcile those things. I also think that it shows how a system that was steeped in racial paternalism nevertheless germinated the seeds of internationalism. It was an incubator for internationalism which took root after the Second World War.
The Guardians is the first history of the League of Nations, an organization which often gets kind of short shrift compared to the better-known history of the United Nations, which followed it after World War II. And yet, as Pedersen shows in this book, the League of Nations really laid the groundwork for the international order in which we still live today.
Brilliantly told. I'm a great fan of books of history where individuals emerge as individuals, human beings with quirks and peculiarities, and how those quirks, peculiarities, and ideas unique to each person contribute to history as it had been lived. And this book does that, I think, brilliantly. There's no sense that you're reading research papers. And beyond that, there are a lot of lessons in it for today. It's not dead history, it's live history.
When an ambitious human project fails, it is tempting for later generations not to take seriously its difficulties and its achievements. The Guardians tells the story of the attempt after the First World War to build a binding international order of peace. That project failed, and yet it left behind a rich legacy that informs the world, the more peaceful world that was built after the Second World War.
The Guardians is a wonderful book that really attempts to shed new light on the ways in which countries and empires during the interwar years attempted to reconcile their own national interest with a new kind of internationalism. And she chose two aspects of this that I think are really important. One, the extent to which their actions at that time, the League of Nations, had enduring significance today, and at the same time had unintended consequences, such that often in terms of trying to govern globally, there's a real sense of really not knowing how this is going to play out and to be very, very cautious.